All right, I did not think I was going to have to comment on problem number one, but I do. This is not an appropriate name for a segment. At more than one group, submit names to me that look like this. If you did, I did not give you credit for it. This is how you write the name of a segment in geometry. The two letters side by side with a segment bar over them, not the two letters with a dash or a minus or anything in between them. You need to know that, okay? Don't make this mistake on your solo quiz. I will mark things like this wrong. Number two, I demonstrated how to do a problem like this in video 2.2. So if you need a quicker, slower explanation than what I'm going to show you here, go back and review that video where I show you how to do a problem like this. But I'm making this point here the origin 0, 0. 4 blocks up makes this at 0, 4. Another 12 over and 14 up makes this 12, 18. H is half of the way from L to T. It's the midpoint of LT. The midpoint between these 2 points is found by averaging the x coordinates and averaging the y coordinates. That turns out to be 6, 11. There's H. Here's J at 20, 0. So how do you get from J to H? From 20 all the way back to 6. 20 minus 6 is 14 blocks in the westerly direction. And then from that point up is going to be 11 blocks north. For number 3, I just use the averaging formula, okay? The midpoint coordinate is the average of the two x's and the average of the two y's. That's all. That's all there is to it. If you're going to put this in your calculator, make sure you don't put it in like this, because the calculator will do the division before the addition, and then you'll get the wrong answer, okay? For number 4, let me think, is there anything else I needed to say about? One group wrote 14 blocks to the left and 11 blocks up. I gave you credit for that, but all of my video, the homework answers, I'm always giving the answers in terms of compass directions, north, south, east, west. I would prefer to see your answers in terms of compass directions. But I did give credit for to the left and up, okay? Nothing wrong with decimal answers, by the way. There's no reason why you can't graph a point at 0.5, 0.6. That would be about there, right? Decimal answers are totally fine. Number 4, I use the formula approach for this. Again, I made up variables for point Z. Now, M is the midpoint, so M is halfway between A and Z. So if you average the x coordinates, 12 and x, you should get negative 17. So I average the 12 and the x by writing 12 plus x divided by 2. That's how you write an average of two things. And that has to come out to be this negative 17 in the middle. So multiply both sides by 2 to start solving. You get x is negative 46. And I did the exact same thing for the y coordinates. 50 plus this unknown y coordinate. When you add them and divide by 2, the answer should come out to be 76. Okay. Now, can I show you another completely different and perfectly acceptable way to get the answer? Okay. Let's take the y coordinates first. Let's say we want to find out this y coordinate first. Here's one endpoint. Here's the midpoint. From one end to the middle, how many steps is that from 50 to 76? That's 26 steps. So if it's 26 steps to get from one end to the middle, it must be another 26 steps exactly to get from the middle to the other end. Now, when we go from this end to the middle, are the numbers going up or are they going down? From 50 to 76, that's going up. So we need to go up another 26 steps past the 76. 76 plus 26 is 102. So there's the y coordinate. And we could do the same thing for the x coordinates, although you got to be a little more careful with the arithmetic. From 12 to negative 17, how far is that? Well, you calculate that the same way you calculated the distance from 50 to 76, by subtracting. Okay, subtracting. And when you want to find the distance between two numbers, we always subtract the larger number minus the smaller number. And I remind you, negative 17 is mathematically a smaller number than 12 because 12 is positive and negative 17 is negative. So if you want to find the distance from 12 to negative 17, we're going to do 12 minus a negative 17, which is 12 plus 17, which is 29 steps to get from this end to the middle. Now, from this end to the middle, are those numbers going up or are they going down? Well, they're going down because they're going from positive 12 to negative 17. So we're going to have to go down another 29 steps to get from the middle to the end. So starting from negative 17, we got to subtract another 29. And that turns out to be negative 46. If you prefer that way of solving a problem like this, I'm totally fine with it. But notice I came out with the same y coordinate either way and the same x coordinate either way. And the same is true for number 5. This problem, I'm showing one way how to do this problem. And the one way that I show it is by finding out how far is it from this end to the middle. How far is it from 35 to 64? Well, 64 minus 35 is 29 steps. And those 29 steps from the end to the middle are going up from 35 to 64. So now I've got to go up another 29 steps to get to the p-value. And I showed that work here, and there's the p-value. Then I put that 93 back in over here, okay? And I did the same thing. From this end point to negative 18, how far is that? Well, again, to find out the distance between two numbers, you've got to subtract. And always the larger minus the smaller. That turns out to be 93. Plus 18 is 111. But again, from 93 down to negative 18, that's going down in value. So we have to go down another 111 from the negative 18. And there's that work there. But here's a completely different way to do this problem. Set up a couple of average equations. All right. For the x's, the k plus the p divided by 2, the k plus the p. Here's the two x coordinates. Average those two, which means add them up and divide by 2. The answer has to come out to be negative 18, the x coordinate in the middle. Now, I can't solve this equation unless I have one of these two values, right? So I'm kind of stuck until I set up the y equation. Here's the y coordinates, p and 35. They have to average out to be 64. So when you add up the p and the 35 and divide by 2, it has to come out to be 64. Multiply both sides by 2. Subtract 35 from both sides, and you'll get your p-value of 93. Now you can plug that in here and finish solving this problem. Both of these problems, 4 and 5, can be solved in the same two different kinds of ways. And I don't care which approach you use, but you've got to be able to make one of them work. Finally, number 6. D is the midpoint of AC. If you don't draw a picture for this, I don't know how you do this problem. I started my picture right here, AC with D in the middle, and I labeled ADX and DCX. And therefore, all of AC was 2x, although I'm not sure that I knew that I needed that yet. Let's just pretend all I know is this is x and this is x. Now, C is the midpoint of AB. So C is halfway between A and B. So I got to lengthen the segment, make B appear to be as far away from C as A is. And now it seems like marking this whole thing 2x and this whole thing 2x is a useful idea. Okay. And finally, BD is 42 units long. Well, from B to D, that's 2 x's and 1 x. That's a total of 3 x's. And I'm told that's 42 units long. So if 3x is 42, x is 14. And now with that information, I can find the length of any segment in this diagram. Which one did I ask for? In this case, I asked for AB, and AB is all 4 x's, and 4 times 14 is 56. I could have asked for AC, and then the answer would have been 28. I could have asked for AD, and then the answer would have been 14. Please, on the quiz, pay attention to the segment that I'm asking you for. It doesn't have to be the longest one. Okay? Email me if you've got questions.